lonely is always a sad thing to go through. You feel so hollow and empty when it happens. But eventually, you will feel at home. So, what better way to cope with all this than to play a video game? A growing imagery of all kinds of worlds, each different in their own way. Whether it be platformers, RPGs, or shooters, we find ourselves coming across these fictional characters. Characters who have all sorts of personality and hidden depth beneath them. But within the crowd, are characters we ourselves find attachments to. Maybe we see ourselves within them, like their design, or something along the forms of rivalry. Most people see them as just characters. I however call them comforting, which is what this video is about. Now, what do I mean by comforting? Any character that I sense a bond with, whether it be good or bad, counts. Basically, as I said before, characters who I can either relate to, feel a strong sense of liking the design, or an imaginary rivalry with the character. Also, note this. I admire each and every single character on this list. I know that my list is probably totally different than yours, but please, argue in the comments if you're gonna do that. It's my list for a reason, so please respect how I feel. Also, I'm gonna add a single rule. I will only have a single avatar character. Simply because they are what is supposed to be representing the player themselves. And if I hadn't put on this rule, most of the list would be of avatars. And that's the only rule I would have. Otherwise, let's share some bonds. The world is full of wonder. Throughout centuries of crafting, it's strange to see how much we've evolved. And with the exploration of space, it makes us wonder how much of the universe there is to see. Is there truly an end? What lies beyond our planet? Well, someone lets my imagination run wild. Launch into the cosmos as I unveil the game that truly got me into video games. Super Mario Galaxy's own guidance of Rosalina is honestly quite relaxing. It takes the concept of space and makes it comforting and enjoyable to go through. Because Rosalina to me shows the magical wonders of space. And it's because of her that I'm actually a lover of astronomy in general. And she's always been my favorite out of all the characters in the Mario series. And after reading her entire storybook, I felt a sense of sympathy with her. Hell, I never thought I would cry in a Mario game, but here we are. Also, the fact that she's finally happy being herself, helping her Lumas, the universe. It makes sense as to why she loves it all. Because she was surrounded by the people who helped her through it all. Her family. I get how most people see this character as lame or uninteresting because of the media, but I don't care. Because not many people have ever played Xenoblade despite how they complain about it. Pyra is one of the kindest characters on this list, as all she really wants in the world of all rest is for there to be peace throughout the land. It's her genuine personality of being wholesome that kind of ties the whole game together. Plus, she sort of has an identity crisis during all of the game, which I can relate to most times. Also, she is one of my mains in Smash, so there's that. In the world of Pokemon, you rarely see anyone who has character or personality to them. And while there are indeed characters who have a story behind them, such as Leon, Cynthia, and so on, there is one character who sticks out to me far more than any other Pokemon character. Now, I can hear you wondering as to why a villain is on this list. Well, it's because of the emotional history behind the character. and how his desire to become stronger is rated with me in a sort of rivalry way. When you first met Volo, he was practically an aide to you, showing you how to battle properly and even how to catch pretty well. He even helped you when you were forced out of the village. But when he mentions Guillotina, you sense the chill that goes down your spine. And then you realize he actually works with it. It's almost as if Arceus sent you to stop him. Arceus was scared of what Guillotina and Volo could do, and Arceus sent you to stop them because there was literally no one as powerful who could. So, why do I relate to this? Well, again, Volo was so close to his goal. He had everything lined up for him. The stars aligned, and he was about to meet Arceus, only for it to be taken away from him. Tell me you haven't felt that before. You haven't? Well, I guess I'm a villain myself for liking Evelto too. Working for something you want is hard to do. You have to put yourself up to the task in order for you to truly claim your prize. And this character, while most people hate, is one I can relate to on this scale. Okay, look. I agree that Revali is probably one of the more charismatic actors in Breath of the Wild, but here's something that most people forget about Revali. He had to work for his power. While the other champions were born with the power to heal, summon lightning, and protect themselves, Revali made his power himself without help from anyone. No one helped him, and it's even seen in the DLC cutscene of him, as it is shown that Revali uses this harsh side of himself as a way of coping with his vulnerability whenever he fails using his move. But soon he tries again and succeeds. He is constantly pushing himself because he doesn't want to fail, which is probably why he's so annoyed at Link for the story. It's almost as if Link is his rival, and that's kind of why I like Revali. Sure, he has an attitude and is a bit harsh, but he has the confidence to keep going until the very end. Being stuck in the depths is one thing, but emerging out to see the end of the tunnel is something else. Whether we're forced to isolate or do it ourselves, we find we tend to not know what it's like to have comfort. Well, let's walk out as we step into the light. Open your eyes to the shining light that appears, and have your own change of heart. The only avatar on this list appears from one of my favorite games of all time, Splatoon 2. With the DLC of the Other expansion, it really makes the story stick out. An Octoling that heard the Screech Sisters' song that caused them to change their ways from zero to hero. And when they finally come to their senses to who they are, they want to be a part of the Inkopolis world, trying desperately to find a way out, no matter what happens to them. Well, not before going through the trauma of an evil blender. And when you reach the surface, you learn just how much Agent 8 has longed to see the bright sun. Octolings were never meant to see the light of day. They were supposed to feel isolated, but no more. Agent 8's rebellion towards the fellow Octolings made it to where it doesn't matter. Super jump away to the light at the end of the tunnel.
Few tales are told of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share. I, however, mean to tell you such a tale. Listen carefully.
shocking to see a character who lives in hell be a character I can relate to. But hey, it's my list. While I may not live in hell, it sure does feel like it sometimes. Walking in a path of which you always find yourself back where you started. It feels like no matter how hard you try, it'll never be enough to get what you really want. This is a path that Zagreus takes throughout the entirety of Hades. And with the absolute bastard of a father he has, combined with a sense of rebellion, it makes sense as to why I relate to Zagreus so much. As someone whose dad is quite a jerk, and how it feels like I start over right when things get good, it really touches my life with my own dad. Not to mention, it's overwhelming when someone puts a lot of negative thoughts in your head. And it's not healthy, like, at all. But with Zag trying to escape each time, he gets closer to his goal with every run he gets. And that's inspiring to me. No matter if you trip and fall, or you keep a modest pace, you gotta keep going. No matter what others think.
Behold the ultimate power!
Behold, one of Sonic Team's most popular characters, Shadow. You know, despite all the hatred I had towards Sonic nowadays, whether it be the games, the story, or everything at once, I could almost always say that I still love this series. And Shadow is a prime example of what I both love and hate about this series. Being the great and cool thing to like, and then destroyed to be something it wasn't meant to be. So, with that being said, what exactly do I mean by I like Shadow the Hedgehog? Well, it could mean anything. Sure, the Shadow nowadays isn't exactly my ideal choice for the character, but he still has some charm. And I still really enjoy the character even if Sega doesn't get him the way I want him to be. A mixture of friend, rival, and enemy at once. With Revenge 2 and Heroes being an enemy turned friend. 06 and Shadow being the friend who is trying to find their way through life. And then Boom and Forces being a rival. So, even though I prefer the 06 era as Shadow, he's still so interesting, even after all the hell he's gone through with development. I could never hate Shadow, even when so many dislike what he's become. And there's something about Shadow that I just resonate with as a character. Shadow will forever be the guiding light in the Sonic series to me, and when there's light, there's Shadow.
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
As we carry on in life, events can trigger something within us. Anger, sadness, or even feelings of overjoy within ourselves. But most times we tend to bottle up and knock ourselves away from others. We don't trust anyone. And when we see ourselves being vulnerable to those who we bond with, we slowly find that bonding those feelings for long periods of time can hurt. So, when we do eventually let them out, we realize who we truly are. Rivals.
I hate you.
I know how some people really hate Catchy in the original Persona 5, but then in Volo they kinda turned the tides and made him almost into a completely new person. Sure, there are a few parts where he remains the same, but it's his confidant rank that really makes him stick out. As you bond with the Catchy and Royal, you soon learn just how much trauma he went through as a kid, which then he bottled up for years on end. And it almost turns into a point of relating to him even though he's one of the villains. which to me makes a perfect villain when you agree with them on some things. But it gets even more interesting when you unlock the third semester, where not only is Akechi alive when he shouldn't be, but he's aware of this too. Long story short, there's someone controlling reality, and it makes it to where Akechi is alive even when he died at the end of Shida's Palace. But even after knowing that he will die when reality is set back to normal, he sticks to his guns and says,
I will carve my own path for myself. I refuse to accept a reality concocted by someone else, stuck under their control for the rest of my days.
Which is just really hard-hitting. He was willing to fight for his own death, all because it wasn't right. No matter how much it hurts, keep going on. If we never meet again. Life can be difficult. As new emerges from the shadows of old, you find yourself looking back at your past. And as you look at your future self, you've got to ask yourself, what's my purpose? Is it to live for what others believe in me? Or is it to live for myself? It's a treacherous way to the top, as we climb our summit. It's easy to say that it's just a game, but is it really? As you look deeper within games, you realize how much thought is put into it, whether it be the music, the behind the scenes, or even the negativity behind the game. But Celeste captivates my thoughts of analyzing games into one character that proves how strong games can be. Madman is a character most people don't find when the term video game is brought up. But then you put the word trans into it, and most people immediately think of her. Yeah, Madman is actually trans, as confirmed by the developer. And also is one of the most relatable characters I can bond with, as it is shown that she actually deals with depression and anxiety. And has even taught me one of the most using coping skills I've ever needed, the feather. I breathe in and out as my breathing keeps that feather floating. She's the reason I was actually thinking about going trans myself, before meaning that it just wasn't right for me. But I still respect those who are trans. Gale is one of my best friends and he's trans. And so are many other online friends and communities that I'm part of, which is why I love Celeste, as it shows to care for others who need your help. Madman would be an easy number one, but I do have a promise to keep. A promise well kept. What once was within the depths of my mind now rises from the abyss and conquers the inner demons within me. I've gone on this whole list mentioning characters I relate to, sense rivalry, and overall design and personality, but none can capture the feeling like I do with Futaba. Many fear being alone because it makes them feel small, lonely, hollow. All that time being left alone tells us that our stories are in words that we thought were scary. People always ask, what's more important, the journey or the destination? And I say, the company you have along the way. We all have our own favorite characters, or our favorite games, quotes, stories. But we always tend to focus on one rather than all. If you combine all the traits of your journey with a game, that journey becomes a lot more hard-hitting once it ends. Which is why Persona 5's character of Futaba is so meaningful to me. As Futaba deals with hallucinations, holding onto her past, and trapped within the prison she built for herself. But her cry for help is what set her down the path to becoming a phantom thief. She needed the help, and she asked for it as a last resort. And it did pay off. Asking for help is hard to do. But when you do ask, it shows how much people care about you. And it's this reason why Futaba reminds me of the most valuable thing I've ever been taught. Love. Love those who are around you. Love your life. And love what you admire. Someday, you will feel at home. Because remember, you are never truly done for. This is 435 Plus. Alone no more.